let's talk a little bit more about where your owner actually dialed into what he found as the best vibration for plants.
Right. So in his research, what he did was he's got electrodes where basically he's measuring the energy throughput of a plant, basically. So you can take an electrode on one leaf and an electrode on another leaf, and you can measure through the branches that connect them. You can measure that energy pattern, or in this case, multiple energy patterns. Or you can take one piece of the root and another piece of the root, and you can measure if the root is healthy and everything is going fine. You can see that certain energy patterns, and they don't really vary. Now, this took thousands of experiments to find all the energy pattern, or all these different frequency patterns for different cells in the plant or different structures in the plant. And he wound up with a little over 3,000 distinct frequencies that correspond to all these different structures in the plant. And so then he had to develop a whole method of delivering this, because you can't just isolate one frequency for one type of cell. You have to be able to recode and restructure all of the frequencies within the plant more or less simultaneously. So then it became the delivery of what did that timing need to be so that the frequencies that handle the roots, for example, could restore the roots to their ideal function, and then the ones that were designed for the cells in the leaves, the chloroplasts, let's say, okay, they operated at a different frequency, but you can't just send them in the same molecule of water. There has to be a delivery mechanism that actually can pattern this out so that it's almost like, I don't know if you ever remember the old Windows. If you ever looked at an old Windows computer, the defrag used to go through it. It used to say, okay, this thing it would replace them, whatever. It would actually show them kind of going through the process and smoothing out, right? And that's essentially what the patterns are doing. They're smoothing out those inefficiencies or those incorrect frequencies back to their ideal state. And they just do that again and again and again as the farmer irrigates his crops. That's how our system works. So it's like a continual retuning of all the different frequency patterns within the plant on a constant basis.
So is this sending a signal and receiving one back, or just sending one out?
Just sending it.
Okay.
They get called sensors a lot, but we don't really sense anything. It's a transmitter, so it transmits this programming that has these 3,000 plus frequencies on a constant basis while the farmer is irrigating.
So they're playing all at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And how the heck did he accomplish that without muting over the whole thing?
My joke in this is years of practice and self-denial. No, but just years of research. Again, because of his experience with the human body and biological systems with the human body, he already had sort of an idea of what to look for and what to do. And then he just had to obviously apply that to his plant physiology. And he had to learn, he essentially almost had to get an agronomic education and understand botany and understand how plants work and really educate himself on the existing knowledge base. And then he had to take his knowledge of biophysics and bioresonance and say, okay, how can I apply this field of knowledge to the existing field of knowledge so that I can really understand and marry the two for a complete understanding of how the biology actually works.
Interdisciplinary work.
Yeah. Yeah, you need it all. I mean, you can't just be a good physicist and you can't just be a good biologist. You have to, when you're combining those two fields, you have to know both of them very well, obviously.
Right.
Yeah.
I call it being a really good general contractor.
Right.
About the electrician, the plumber, the framer, the roofer, the tile guy, so that you can see if they're doing a good job and you can talk their language, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
All right, so that's where he came from, and that's how he developed this. So can you explain a little bit more to the audience? You don't add energy to it, so how are you providing that resonance?
Okay, so this is a very good question, and I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. So we attach these transmitters onto a farmer's irrigation system. And as water travels through the inside of the irrigation pipe, the water, as it flows, carries an electromagnetic charge, right? The other side of that is water has a very unique structure and a very unique set of unique characteristics that no other element on the planet has. And without getting too difficult, I mean, our white paper explains this in excruciating detail, but essentially water has the ability to capture vast amounts of information as it flows through a medium. It's just one of the characteristics of water.
We had Pollock on the show, so we get it.
Get who?
Pollock, Gerald Pollock.
Yeah,
Okay.
Gerald Pollock. Fourth phase
Yeah.
of water.
Yeah, I've heard of his work. So it's essentially the same concept, but this one has to do with, I'm trying to remember even the name of it now. They're called coherence domains. And the idea of a coherence domain is when you have, I'll just use water as the example. So when you have water traveling through a column, right, certain water molecules in the let's say flowing through the center of that column of water is going to move at different speeds and also have different characteristics than water moving at the edges, right, because of turbulence and various things. Well, the idea of a coherence domain is that all the molecules of water, as they flow through this pipe, they're able to essentially shed their electrons, right? They're able to, because of the movement of water and the polar nature of water, they're able to sort of shed their electrons. And in that state, they're able to capture a tremendous amount of information, electromagnetic information. And the transmitters that we are sending, what they are doing is they're activated by that flow of water, by that magnetic field of flowing water. And then the molecules of water in that excited state are able to capture these waves that the transmitters are sending through the pipe and into the water. And those waves have been calibrated and programmed according to set frequency patterns and set timing mechanisms to make sure that each molecule of water can grab essentially a piece of information, right? In this case, electromagnetic wave information. And then when the plants absorb that water at the molecular level, the molecules of water, as they pass through and by the cells within the plant, they're calibrated at a certain frequency, and the plant may be going a little faster, but because of the physical laws of harmonics, they essentially come into alignment with each other and they tune the cells within the plant so that all the cells are now vibrating at the same frequency. And
so you're basically the energy of the water as not only a method for delivery, but you're using as a method for harvesting the energy that you need to install this information and shoot it down the pipe. Very cool, my friend. Very cool.
yeah.
So
And don't ask me to explain all the physics behind all that, because I don't even know all of that necessarily, but that's my understanding.
No, I wouldn't do that to you.